Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another episode of the Draft to Glory. Quick little message here, as we normally do. These are drafts where we do win them, guys, because I feel like that's better for the viewer to check out the quote unquote the best rewards you can possibly get. I'm gonna try to upload a draft or two a day, because it is the game mode that I do play the most, and it allows you guys to check out some gameplay. Because I know that you guys like to watch me do the actual gameplay stuff, and as well as be able to check out the rewards I do get by the end of it. But for today's draft, for this one, because we have two that we're going to be uploading for today, this is going to be for my favorite formation after the patch or the post patch, right? I like this formation a lot. The 4-3-3 false nine. It's not necessarily the most meta formation, because the most meta formation for me personally, after playing like the higher divisions and stuff, it's using the formations that are more defensive, like the 4-2-3-1 bracket 2, having the left mids and right mids to come back, the camp to come back, so on and so forth, like the super defensive ones. But if you want to have fun with FIFA, this 4-3-3 false 9, excuse me, is pretty great. I already made a video for this one, and I know that some people tried out this formation and said that they didn't like it. And I understand why they wouldn't like it, because again, guys, instructions, tactics, formations that people use might not work out for you. It's just for me to share what I use post patch, right? Some people will try out the formation, not like it, come back and be like, this formation was trash. It's just like, that's not the case, right? It's just because it doesn't fit your playstyle. Like there's so many pro players, they play a specific way that I would never be caught dead using, because it just doesn't fit my playstyle. The runs that the players make, my brain works differently to what I want my players to do, right? And you'll notice that the instructions and tactics the tactics part is similar, but the instructions is usually different when it comes to pro players. Some of them tell them to get into the box, stay wide, play long ball. Because I know that Mo plays long ball for some of his tactics, and it works out really well for him. But I'm gonna be talking about what I use with the 4-3-3 false nine. So in this draft in particular, I believe the players that I used in the two center mid spots was Angel Di Maria. It was Angel Di Maria and Anthony Martial. And again, I do that for the fun concept, because I want to have that one solid defensive player playing that CDM role. And again, that's the most important thing. And I will get to that in a bit, right? But the two center mids, I want them to be pretty much good at almost everything, right? So obviously they're not great at the defensive stats, right? But the attacking prowess that they have in regards to pushing up, and the pace that they have to push back, is really nice. They don't have the work rate to push back, because I think they're both high medium. I think Rashford might, or I think Martial might be medium, or I don't remember exactly. But I know that they're definitely more attacking oriented than staying back. The instructions that I use for the 4-3-3 false nine: the fullback stay back while attacking and always overlap. Because I prefer them to do that and stay on the sides and to go in the middle. But I will be experimenting with that, because with the center mids, I do keep the instructions on balance, so they can go wide, right? I don't have it set to cover the center. I have it to say, I don't know if it's cover wide or whatever it's called, but I know that it's on the balance. I don't even tell them to stay back while attacking. I want them to make their transitioning runs going forward. And especially with someone that has good pace, it's very helpful. There was one draft where I was using N'Golo Kante, Thierry Henry, and it was Heung-min Son as my three midfielders. And obviously Kante was playing as a CDM, and then Thierry Henry and Heung-min Son are playing as a center mids. Thierry Henry's left wing card has medium work rates, right? Doesn't have defensive stats, but he does have the pace, the physical attributes, the physical stature, the height, so on and so forth, to be a very good card, right? So even when he came back on defense, yeah, he doesn't really, intercept the ball that much, but obviously that's to be seen with a card like him, right? But with someone like Heung-min Son, same thing. Doesn't have defensive stats. A little bit more sluggish on the ball. Not as quick on the ball as Thierry Henry. But it was really fun to use both of those guys in my center mids, because they offered an extra attacking presence. And obviously in FIFA, it's definitely more fun to attack than it is to defend. So that's why I liked using that. But in this draft, I was using Di Maria and Martial, but I did the exact same thing, where I told my CDM to stay back while attacking and cover the center. My top three, my center forward, my left wing, and my right wing, they're unbalanced depending on how my opponent is playing, right? So if my opponent is playing a specific way, then I will change the instructions accordingly to how my opponent is playing. So let's just say, for instance, I was going to use the 4-3-3 false nine, but I wanted to have different versions of it, right? So let's just say I already had a balanced, like the first formation that I use already has all the right players in the right positions with the right instructions, so on and so forth. I would then have 3 or 4 other dynamic tactics based off of what my opponent is going to be doing. So some of them could be, I want my left wing and my right wing and my center forward to be on balance. I don't want them to come back. I want them to play to their play style, right? And then I can have another instruction and tactic where I have the left wings and the right wings to come back in defense, but don't tell them to stay out wide so I can see what their transition is like going into the middle and coming out wide. Having another tactic where I tell them to come back in defense and stay wide, and then another tactic for them to just stay wide, right? So it's cool to be able to transition between each of those tactics, which I don't do in draft. In draft, I just use one tactic because I'm too lazy to do it for every single formation, because again, EA game, right? They don't save the tactics for each formation you set for drafts. They always change it. So you always have to, fix it every time you play the draft again. So with the 4-3-3 false nine, I had to do that. But yeah, this formation's a ton of fun to use. I really do enjoy using it. I think for me personally, when I use these formations, the thing that's really important for these formations is having wing play, because I always tell this to people that you want to be able to exploit the fullback positions as much as possible, because that's the area that the fullbacks always push up, right? So it's nice to have that left wing and that right wing to come back on defense, be closer to you, and then transition forward, or to be on balanced work rates or balanced instructions where you don't touch them at all. They're already up there. You make the pass to them, and then they can make the pass to the side, or they can make the run on the sides. For a tactic like this to work, or for a playstyle like this to work, you need to have pace on the sides. In this draft, we had Eden Hazard and Mohamed Salah as the wingers, right? And then I switched on Cristiano Ronaldo as a striker, which again is one of the most meta strikers in the game, or even as a center forward. The reason why that works is because Eden Hazard and Mohamed Salah both have over 90 pace, and if you look at their actual stats, their acceleration sprint speed is very similar to each other. So it's not like they have over 90 pace, but they have like 94 acceleration and like 85 sprint speed. No, they have acceleration and sprint speed. And that's very important to have, in my opinion, no matter what anybody tells you in this game, based off of that playstyle of exploiting the fullback and then running in behind that space. It's still important, right? I'll give you an example. When I use Riyad Mahrez, even his OTW card has like 86 or 87 pace. That is not enough for that tactic to work out really effectively, but it still works out okay. When I play with him, he still makes those runs. And the thing about Mahrez that's nice about him is that he's fantastic at dribbling with the ball at his feet, right? So that's what's really, really helpful with a card like that. But I just like to have that pace in Mohamed Salah and Eden Hazard when I pass the ball back, and then they can exploit that space behind the fullback. So yeah, this is one of my favorite formations to use. I had 3 or 4 viewers of mine follow the instructions and tactics that I gave in the 4-3-3 false 9 video, and they said that they did really well in the weekend league. I think one of my viewers, Smarva, said that he got 26-4, so that's really, really good with the false 9. So be sure to try it out. The one thing I will say about this formation before we get into the rewards part is that make sure you have good work rates in the CDM. I really do not suggest using Fabinho as a CDM. Make sure you get someone that is medium high in that position, because if you have center mids that have any sort of work rates around the range of high, medium, medium, you need to be able to have a balance of at least that one CDM in that area, so you can compensate for all the extra attack that your players are basically doing when they are committing forward. So this is my favorite formation to use post-patch, just because it's the most fun. It's probably not the most effective, but again, it is the most fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. We're going to go into the rewards right now. If you guys do enjoy the video by the end of it, be sure to drop a thumbs up on the video. Definitely helps out the channel a lot. And I will see you guys for the next video. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys. Really like the podcast with Gorilla. Thank you, man. I think we're done with the podcast for now, though, man. Because I think, I don't know, you kind of, there's not really much to say anymore, you know? Everyone's perspective is very similar. Because usually when you do the podcast, you just let people do the talking, right? Get their point of view on it. It's usually more or less the same. Maybe in the future, if we do podcasts, it'll be based off of like real life football. But other than that, I don't know. Doing FIFA podcasts, there's just not really much to talk about. The stuff you can talk about, even if it's like weekly content, it's not really like an hour's worth. That's why people were asking if I had the podcasts available on Spotify and iTunes, and I just told them that. So the way that it works is that like you pay for a service on SoundCloud or Podbean, and then when you pay for those services, um, you're paying for the host server, and then you could just like put it on iTunes and Spotify afterwards. But it didn't really feel like it was worth it because for the first few podcasts it was okay, but then FIFA podcast wise, there's just no real point in doing it. Thorla. Have you tried getting a podcast with Corey Azaro? They're not. They wouldn't be allowed to go on a podcast, I don't think, because they're not, dude. People give Zaro and Corey shit, but they're genuinely not allowed to say a lot of stuff, right? That's not their fault. They work at the company.